Let's go. I got a vision I see in my head, a melody buried deep into my soul. They call us crazy, we cutting the edge, unlocking the future and letting it go. This is a calling that's higher, the time we decided our stories are gonna be told. This is where legends are born, we paving the road, a future that favors the bold. Break the rules, break the laws, this is the moment we change it all. Break the rules, break the laws, this is the moment we change it all. Yeah, greatness, yeah, it feels like greatness. Woo! Greatness, yeah, it feels like greatness. Legendary in the making. Reach out and we take it. About to emerge, we on the verge, and it feels like greatness.
I stand here without fear because I remember. I remember that I am here not because of the path that lies before me, but because of the path that lies behind me. I remember that for 100 years we have fought these machines. I remember that for 100 years they have sent their armies to destroy us. And after a century of war, I remember that which matters most. We are still here!
Covering all your favorite parts of the 50-yard fight. This is the Inside the Walls podcast with Zach Heilman and Jim Mernier.
Welcoming in fans and survivors of the 50-yard fight, this is the Inside the Walls podcast. I am Zach Heilman, kicking things off on this wonderful 4th of July, welcoming you all in for those that are tuning in and taking your time on this special day that we celebrate America's birth, ceremoniously that is, but also getting to tune in for some arena football discussion. Glad to have you on. Glad to be back in studio, coming back here from a vacation of sorts, if you would call it that, from the USFL. Still watched all the NAL games. Trust me that. I did not lose any time with that. And we got plenty of other stuff to talk about because of various different things and some very exciting and surprising results to games in this past week of action, as it is episode 116, NAL Rebound Week 13 edition. Let me bring in my co-host here, kick things off and get this thing really rolling. It is my good buddy, pal, co-host, man that makes these wonderful graphics videos. He is the Schefter of the NAL. It is Jim Mernier. Joining me as always, Jim. Glad to be back and on a show. I'm sorry I had to miss you and Steve last week. Let's just say, event planning is hard. It is hard.
You left me. You left me, man.
I left you on. Look, I get you and Steve. You had a little Jacksonville party. That's all it was.
That happens. It really happens. But it's glad to be here. 4th of July, fireworks, very explosive episode that we're going to have. For most of the people who watched us or follow us on our platforms, you know what we're about to talk about for a majority of this first half of the show. Then we'll break down the two games and we'll have a firework not really. Yeah, we're going to have something that you want to stay at to the end of the show that will cap off your 4th of July, especially here on Inside the Walls. Remember to follow us on all our social platforms, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, NationalArenaLeague.com.
Yep.
Yeah, I miss anything else? No, but happy 4th to everyone. As you know, as the thumbnail of this show, hashtag still here. And I've told Zach before we break down a couple things that I'm going to make a statement about this stuff. As you know, me and Zach have built a reputation in this league, covering this league, giving you guys the factual information as much as we can get by confirmed sources. So when Zach was enjoying his time with his other endeavors in Canton, Ohio this weekend, myself and a couple other individuals were completely trying to do damage control, you can say. unneeded damage control. So now that we're here live 4th of July on Inside the Walls podcast, you don't do that if you got your walking papers. You don't do that after someone says that the league told people to go home, or that two major historical franchises, are folding to join another league, or two teams in our league are joining forces to head to a league out west. 4 days ago, posts happening everywhere bashing the National Arena League and the Jacksonville Sharks and the Orlando Predators and every team that's associated with was getting bombarded by false rumors. And I keep telling you guys out there, if it doesn't have Inside the Walls logo on it, if it doesn't have Smoking Guns podcast on it, it doesn't have an NAL logo on it, or it has any NAL Teams logo on it, the information is BS. In the words of owner John Chaney of the Orlando Predators, it's BS, but the whole word. Just honestly. So when we get constant text messages, phone calls, emails from players, coaches, former players, and former coaches coming up and going, what's going on? And I have to do damage control. But the funny thing is, and I laugh at Zach, we talked about this before, if you have reliable sources, and sure enough, your sources are reliable, you don't start deleting such posts after you get conflict from the people who are actually connected to the league. What's also funny is the sources that I know who are sources in the National Arena League are also getting blocked by this certain page. And then this person goes in defense. And it's kind of funny because I'm not in the business to call out individuals. There was a certain website, last year that completely folded because they were notorious of reporting on BS. Honestly, I'm still waiting for the 30 expansion teams the NAL is supposed to have from 2 years ago. What happened? What happened to Vermont? What happened to Baltimore? What happened to Maryland? What happened to Virginia? What happened to Nashville? Where were all these expansion teams? That site said it. It never happened because, honestly, for us, the two announcements we made were West Texas and Fayetteville. And 2 years ago, it was San Antonio. Where were the other 29 teams that say it was going to be expansion? Also, this page and this went out of the way and saying that current NAL teams are not paying players. We dug into it and found out that was also BS. What's funny about the situation is that people get attracted to that page and think it's headline news. It's breaking news. It's funny when I get players that message me, coaches that message me, say, who's this dude? What's this? And I go, it follows the same narrative of a previous page. What's strange is I have a lot of respect for this community. Zach does too. And me and Zach can blast these people's names right now on this show. And people will know who they are. But we won't. Because we responsible for the National Arena League, a league that was supposed to close its doors 4 days ago. A league that was not supposed to play games because the players knew that the league was folding. Yeah, it's amazing how much BS gets sent and spread. And what really aggravates me is that this page blocks people, then unblocks them and says that we don't block you. When, hate to break it to you, I know most likely he's listening, or one of his little partners are listening. It's from some magazine that copies another major brand magazine. It's actually like a photocopy, who hijacks posts from legit websites and puts on his websites. Not calling you out though. Or is it the same MO as the previous website? These are the people who are ruining the game. And these are the people that, for me and Zach, have to go do their, clean up the work, the damage. So I tell you this to the listeners and our viewers and our supporters. If I'm not saying something about it, if Zach's not saying something about it, or Smoking Guns out of San Antonio, or even the owners, one thing I loved about it, Zach, I don't think if he knows this, a lot of the owners clap back at that dude on Facebook, and he's like, you don't have sources. Dude, you're talking to the owner of the team.
Well, I think that first off, I think that's one instance where I think you are allowed to defend yourself a little bit more publicly, because of the fact that you have it's one thing to say that your organizations are doing certain things, and that you're going to see your league fall apart.
Mm-hmm.
It is another to then make it to where it goes farther when you have people believing it. And I think that's when you have to step in and say, we really need to start pumping the brakes. I don't even, this isn't even an NAL issue. Like, that's what's funny. It's like, we're just talking our league. Like, we're talking like both the big leagues getting caught in the crossfire of just, I think, blatantly poor reporting. And that's what's so sad. This isn't even an NAL thing. This is like an indoor arena thing that people all stopped and went, excuse me, what's going on here? And supposedly one account that people have, that just enough folks buy into, made everyone believe that we're going to sit here and see the entire ecosystem of this sport just collapse and reshape that drastically. Now, we've heard mergers before, but like, come on, we're talking like full on half of another league leaving. We're talking our own league folding to pieces. I'm just saying, let's chill. And I'm amazed at how much this spread.
No, what gets me is ESPN's going to air games and they're going to air it on YouTube. Like, what?
That part got me too.
When I saw that, I lost my shit. I was like, there's no way that's happening. Excuse me. Sorry. When I see it, I got to call it. I do apologize. But the one thing that amazes me is that one little story of that gets spread and it's like wildfire throughout the community. Just not our league. Every single league.
It's a massive nothing burger until you have people start buying into it, and then we have to go, guys, it's nothing. Why? Like, that's what's nuts. Like, this community deserves so much better than having people buy into stuff like, having to talk about collapsing leagues, talking about we had a person posting about NAL representatives crying at their office desks because they were packing up and leaving. Like, really? Are you serious right now?
Damn it, man! Like, they caught me.
I mean, come on, dude. Like, I'm not paying attention as much as you during like my last weekend, but like, I'm reading this, I'm like, come on, who is buying this?
And
none of it made any sense, and it didn't make sense because it wasn't real.
And he also went on both NAL streams, both games, and the community, the NAL community. Some people that we know, one of them has a big YouTube following in Arena Football Statement. He called them out. A lot of Fanstar owners, current players, Jonathan Bain got into it with some of these people. It's funny that the comments like, "Oh, NAL over, NAL done," and the thing is I'm sending texts to people that I know who are in the league, up and ups, and they're replying back like, "What? Show me the screenshots." Send the screenshots. And it's a joy about technology now. You can delete what you want to delete, but someone's fast on the screenshot trigger. And we got a load of screenshots of this person claiming that he didn't mean the NAL, but he did say NAL personnel are saddened that they've lost their jobs, that the doors are closing today.
I think the story here is just that, like, look, there are several other places you can go for accurate reporting on not just our league, but other leagues, guys. That's what we're trying to say. Like, this is kind of a problem not just with the NAL, but it's a problem with indoor. It's a problem with the indoor leagues like the CIF and the IFL. There's a few groups out there. They get fed poor information. I don't know what the sources are, but it's either my conclusion speculatively is either it's people that have some sort of agenda, or it's folks that want to get a rise out of people.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, guys, you have I can give you 3 to 4 accounts beyond ours that can give you accurate information besides us. You have choices. Please, for the love of God, and I don't want to mention the account because we're trying to keep the same, because I'd rather not mention it to give any light to a person that false reports.
They know who we're talking about. Yeah.
That's the thing. Avoid that account. Please, for the love of God, if you are looking for accurate reporting, go somewhere else. Arena Football statement alone, I will say, is if you want an all-encompassing like 3-league coverage, go there. Go right there if you want all 3. If you want us, you got the Smoking Guns and us. That's 3 accounts right there. You have choices, people. Go find the right choices.
Like I always said, if we don't confirm it, then most likely it's BS. Like this last week, especially last weekend, was crazy. I'm trying to watch 2 games here, and I'm getting text messages and pictures and everything. When I get owners messaging me, like, do this, this, and this, and this, and trying to find out what's going on, let me know. I know something serious. I just know. But honestly, I do got a text message. I have we have a Patreon. So again, our Patreon's up. Patreon said we have 2 current Shark players watching us, David Gilbert and Justin Renfro. So I'm giving a shout out to the show. They're watching, so I don't know why they're watching me, and we're waiting for some fireworks. I don't know. Should I wait till the end of the show, or should I start it now so people can go blast the chat? I think we should.
Are you talking the thing that maybe that we might have discussions about? That's chatter behind the scenes discussions about.
The one that with me and you and yeah, I'm just
Hey, go ahead.
I'm going to pull it up. I'm going to pull it up. Okay, please. So as you know, we don't report on rumors outside the league.
Yes,
but there are rumblings of future additions to the National Arena League. There's your fireworks, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, wait, wait. But I thought we were folding.
Yeah, well, it's funny how things get misconstrued because that's even funnier when you know the fact that you and I both have heard rumblings of things about great stuff coming ahead, and we hear complete opposite and go, what planet are you living on? Because I'm trying to find the access point to that destination because it's not available. It's virtual reality.
Or my favorite comment of the week: you need to check your fax machine. Do we even use faxes anymore? Just gonna say, but yes, everything that you've seen from the national side or National Arena League or the other websites saying the league is folding and dissolving and we're losing teams. Buckle your straps, folks. Put everything on. It's going to be a wild couple of weeks for the playoffs, and we'll be here to give you everything in the future for the National Arena League. Trust me. We're your number one source, as I've said before. When you have players that message us to ask if this is legit, then they trust us. But yeah. So besides the craziness that was, one thing we know about this league and this sport, if you spew BS, it's the end of you. Period. For us, we can't say anything until we're told to say something. So
of course.
But anyways, we have 2 games to review. Almost said preview, but review.
Well, no, you're right. We do have 2 excellent games to preview. And now that we're getting that ugly but very necessary part out of the way to discuss, because I don't like always going there, but necessary things need to be discussed in terms of that regard. But hey, if anything, you finished on a positive note that you are at least going to be seeing some bright stuff ahead that we know of. So keep that in mind. And we'll be getting on to some great things here in the past week. I think so really, one major surprise, which would be the game of the week. We won't touch on that just yet, though, as we've got a previous matchup here to talk about in Carolina, where the West Texas Warbirds came into town. West Texas and Carolina have had some very intriguing matchups this season. Somewhat closer affairs. You had, of course, Carolina putting up largest point total of the year of any team with 86 in their last encounter in the hangar. This time, the Cobras finally get to go home. Kind of a rough road stand that they had. Get to go to the friendly confines. A nice 3,300 in attendance for that contest this 4th of July weekend. So solid crowd in the building, made its presence known. And the Cobras made their presence known without a doubt making sure that they were able to walk away with this one. Honestly, my own quick thoughts on this contest in general really just kind of went with the flow. Once the Cobras were able to get that 4th and 5 stop on the first drive that West Texas had, it felt like control was established pretty early. They did force the Warbirds to take several field goal tries, which, again, I don't prefer seeing that in arena if you don't have to, but as we have become accustomed, yes, Delio Weber is a weapon, and of course, Coach Smith will use them as necessary. It's just sometimes you have to then brace to make a good defensive stand at the other side. Things usually did not go that way in the case for West Texas. Carolina, by the end, was able to comfortably cruise to a 1-possession win with 2 possessions comfortably in their pocket with about a minute left on the clock. Solid game all around, I think, in terms of the pass game. Honestly, Malik Henry, really good day. Defense showed up as well. Mike Green, one of the highlight players of the day as well. So all around good stuff, and gets the Cobras at least a feel-good win, I think, moving into the the final stretches of the schedule to see if they can make up any ground on San Antonio and Jacksonville in some way.
This game basically solidified Carolina's playoff berth. They did win and clinch a playoff spot. But also, Carolina gives that vibe of they're starting to find their groove. Last week, they went toe-to-toe with the Sharks in a very exciting game. This week, they came home, biggest crowd of the season, and put up a good performance. Malik Henry played very well. A guy that for me, I'm always, if he's going off, you know they're having a good game, and that's Adam Smith. Adam Smith went off. There's a couple plays in the highlights that his just mobility and his acceleration just completely is in the next level in this game, and he knows how to get the extra yards. Also, I got to give a shout out to the color analyst, Kendra Gings.
Yes, that was a pleasant surprise, wasn't it?
That was a very good coverage. You know, you need work sometimes, you need practice sometimes. But I was joking with him on via DMs. I was like, "Are you coming for my job there, bro?" So it was just making him laugh, and he's like, he's appreciated. So he did a great job covering the game. Also in this game, what I've started to notice is I'm not going to say it because this is way too early to talk about awards, but Weber, I think his family loves this league. She goes on both major podcasts on this show, on this league. I think if there's a special teams kicker of the year, Weber's hands down the guy. He had a little bit of an off night this week, but the guy is all kicking field goals left and right. He's kicking deuces almost every single game he's playing, and he leads the league in deuces with 16, I think. That's impressive for him. Also, we didn't talk about him last week. Chris Ware for West Texas. Solid quarterback. He made some good plays. West Texas stayed in this game as long as possible. Crucial turnover towards the end that really flipped. And the 2-point conversion that West Texas tried to get at the end that was a failed attempt really stunt their comeback. But one thing we've mentioned about West Texas throughout the last couple of weeks is that they are in the lose small stage still of their climb to being a good team.
Pretty much.
They're with a voice of what Phil from Smoking Guns would say, they are the San Antonio Gunslingers of last year. That's the current West Texas. They have players. They're competitive. They're just not making certain plays in certain games will make them to be contenders or even trying to win these games. What's the issue I see with West Texas? When I watched this game, like I watched it the day later, and this is when I started watching film and see what they were doing. Carolina wasn't making any mistakes. They weren't turning the football over. They weren't doing self-deflicting injuries like penalties, turnovers, incomplete passes. They weren't doing any of that. They were West Texas did stop them a couple drives, but it wasn't as nasty, or let's say what we saw a couple weeks ago with Carolina and Orlando, where it was just fumbles, turnovers, interceptions, and it was back and forth. This one was just they controlled the game from the get-go, but West Texas was really never out of the game.
Right.
And
Honestly, the only mistake I can think, and it's funny I bring up because we have the video right now playing, is that Savante Davenport strip return for a touchdown. It's really the only one I can think that kind of, if you're going to ding Carolina for something directly, kind of was that, because they were in the position to really start expanding upon their lead and keeping things really at arm's length. But that touchdown there, West Texas was able to at least keep it within 3 points for a majority of the second half after that point. Until you had a nice stop, get a touchdown in late. Carolina's able to extend a little bit. But that, it's the only thing I can ding them on. I'm with you. Pretty clean game. I think something that Carolina desperately needed, just put the fundamentals together and get a win in the column after kind of after a rough road trip for the most part. Just get yourself solidified back. You're a good team. You have a lot of good fundamental pieces. Just get a win column in front of your fans. Get that feel-good attitude going into the later stretch of the year, into the final month, going into the playoffs. And, again, did their job. But I love West Texas for the sake of, I think some teams will say when playing them that they play hard, that they are, I would say if you're trying to be nice about it, for a team like Carolina, like a tune-up game in a way. It's not an easy one. It's to keep you on your toes. And the Warbirds, like you're talking, it's very much still just trying to find wins, if anything, trying to, I think, piece together just little to no mistake football, is what it is. This team really, I think, is not ready to play from behind and do comeback victories, so to speak. If you're going to see them get a win, they need to do what we saw with Orlando, which we'll talk about in a bit. They're going to find ways to get out in front early and kind of just keep mashing the gas pedal, because otherwise, it still has a few kinks that have to be ironed out before we see this team become, I think, a true winner and contender with the rest of the NAL.
And also, they're still learning the game, and they're being competitive. They're not getting pushed around in a lot of these football games. A lot of these games are one-possession games late in the fourth quarter. Unfortunately, and then in this game, you're going to lose a lot of one-score games, and the good teams learn how to win those one-score games, and teams that struggle are the ones that don't win those one-score games. But West Texas, you can say they went through a patch of games where they're like, oh, geez, San Antonio, Carolina. Who we got next? Carolina. I'm like, that's a stretch. And they wrap up with Jacksonville, then Orlando. So their season is going to be pretty tough for them. But for West Texas, I think they can be more looking at the rest of the season more like spoilers now than anything else, even though they still have a outside chance of making the postseason. If Orlando wins this weekend, they clinch. And if Orlando does lose, West Texas needs to win to stay alive. If they lose, they're also eliminated again. So the field can be set next week, or the 4 teams, that is. But in this game overall, one thing I like about West Texas and Coach Tate is that his teams fight. No matter if they're outmatched or if they're getting outplayed, this team doesn't quit. This team always finds a way to battle back and make something that's ridiculous, like the Davenport strip 6. That was a point in the game where Carolina was going there, basically trying to push the game away, almost end the game early in the third quarter, and they get that strip. A strip 6, and the game flipped on the side and was for a good 10 minutes of that game, it was just a deadlock, I think, at 29-28 for like 10 minutes, it seemed like.
Well, watching that replay, when I got the chance to sit down and catch up, that strip 6 definitely, like I said, I think that was, to me, the point where I'm like, okay, this game could just become like your typical, 2-possession runaway fest, or we can make things interesting. Made things interesting where I went, okay, the Warbirds have found some success on offense. They just haven't been able to finish drives as cleanly. If they can get that done and get another defensive stop, maybe a turnover or something, then, we could have a ball game. And, they did keep it close. Again, got to give credit when you have a good kicker and you just got to get in the end zone. All about is just keeping it close and not losing any edge. Just couldn't get enough power to get any deuces. That was the thing with Weber today. During this game. I know today is definitely several days in the past, but just couldn't get any power under his kicks. It was the issue. And I think that was the only thing that was lacking, that maybe, if you get like just one or two, if you get just one deuce, Maybe you take a little more risk on one of those touchdowns later in the second half to where you go for 2. And then you put the pressure back on Carolina even more so. Just didn't come to be. And then simple fact is the Cobras, a little bit more veteran, talented roster. Eventually, mistakes were made. The options and opportunities were not executed well on West Texas's part. And Carolina got a win that I think was sorely needed to kind of settle things down.
It's a win they needed after going through a stretch where they lost both to Orlando and to the Jacksonville Sharks and Jacksonville last week. So it gets them a win, gets them in the tournament. Now it's more likely for them is battle tested. I know there's a couple of Shark players watching right now that hopefully that Carolina can go to San Antonio here in a couple of weeks and that 2-game set and try and split that series. To trying to get home field for the Sharks. But the Sharks have a test coming up this week with 2 massive games with Orlando back-to-back. So Jacksonville has to go through their stretch too. But for West Texas, finish on a high note. You're home this weekend against Carolina again. And usually sometimes the teams that you don't want to play is a team that really has nothing to lose. And that's a game this week that Carolina, even though Carolina's clinched at berth, they still have an outside chance of getting the 2 seeds. So a home field playoff game, which I guarantee a lot of people don't know the stats. A team that makes the playoffs as a home team, they win. They're 12-2 in the postseason. The home team is, and that's pretty good. That's a good stat to have. So if you're a home team in the playoffs in the first round, you're 12-2, and you're undefeated in the championship game if you're host. So that's what home field really means in the league. And for West Texas, they're on the very last line. They need to win out, and hopefully Orlando loses out for them to get in. But it's coming down to, well, you have nothing to lose. Go out there and trying to ruin other teams' hopes for playoff positioning, ruin someone's 2 seed, ruin someone's 1 seed. You have some key games coming up. So that's going to be the intriguing part coming up for West Texas. Now for Carolina, you got to go out to West Texas. The last time you were out in West Texas, your offense looked like it was a well-oiled machine.
Mm-hmm.
Scored a lot of points, honestly, and gave up a lot of points. But still, that still amazes me. The losing team scored 59 points.
Right.
You're winning games scoring 59 points. But overall, this game. It was a get right game for Carolina, but also for West Texas, it's right there. They know it's right there. Just 1 or 2 plays go their way, and they're winning these type of games. And I feel like West Texas is that team next year, as a team you don't want to face. Basically, like San Antonio this year.
I think if you're with the Warbirds, and credit, players have their own journeys, things change. But I think what I find fascinating is as we're moving into the later part of this year, West Texas, the playoff hopes have all but slipped away in my eyes. So I think now you're looking at guys like, okay, say you do have folks in your area that you're wanting to bring back, or you have relationships with guys you want to bring back. Who do you start talking with or keep together right now? Maybe you think about like, who's my first guy coming AL free agency that I'm going to be looking to hit up first. When I have that period where I can talk to them exclusively, and then I think the bigger question will be, and I'm thinking ahead. So some people are like, why are you still talking about this? Season's not over, but trust me, this is the time of year now with the Warbirds being 2-9. It's more about seeing what you got. And I think I also asked the question of, who do you keep in contact with for QBs? Because I think Ware's pretty solid. I think Mitch, if he doesn't get injured, you can reasonably sit there and go, you know what, he'd be great to hit up Mitch Kidd. Talk to him again, or maybe you look at another option on the market, someone that maybe has a little more veteran experience. But I think that it just comes down to getting some of your guys that you like from who you've kept from your core, as much as the transactions they've had this year, switching guys out, finding who works and who doesn't, and then kind of building upon that for next year, depending on how you want to do that with the choice of how you decide to go with the cap space that you want to deliver. Because remember, no cap in the NAL. So, owner's discretion as to how they want to handle that. But that's where West Texas is in. It's a unique position compared to the rest of the league because the Preds right now are starting to, as we'll talk, look like they are establishing themselves as the likely at least fourth playoff team, whereas West Texas at least can, I think, more so talk about let's finish strong, see what we got, and look towards the future under what has become slowly more and more during the year feeling like a pretty successful year in terms of growing fan base and getting plays and games under your belt as an NAL franchise, growing from that small beginnings to where you are now in one of the top two or three leagues in the United States in this sport or variant of this sport.
Yeah. And the next game we'll be talking about has a team that is going to be that team that we like to say you don't want to face them in the postseason. And that is the Orlando Predators.
Game of the week.
It's the game of the week. Again, I got to go find the highlight film because I thought I had it. I'm looking through my database. I do apologize.
It'll be there.
And I found it. There we go. We're good.
I mean, while you're getting it up, I mean, so you have it now, of course, but how fascinating. I think most of the storylines from this past weekend come from this game in particular. Not to take away from Carolina and West Texas, not to say that, because again, if you're Carolina, you're feeling good. Again, we can't reiterate, you need a win to kind of say, hey, got to get a feel-good moment. Let's get back with the good vibes. We got a few games to rally behind and get some wins. Hope we can get maybe a seed movement or a movement of a seed or two to try to have any chance of getting a home playoff game. That's where you're at right now. However, looking across the screen, if you are multitasking like many of us do, watching this sport, and you have the multi-screen setup like we love, you're looking at the game in in Orlando, and you're going, so wait a minute, like you're in the first quarter, and you're sitting there going, wait a minute, is it 22-0? And then you end the half, it's 29-7 at halftime. Orlando decided to play all across the board its best game of the season, and without a doubt, I think submitted itself to say, hey, you know what? I think we found our guy behind center. We also have a good secondary guy, which I think some people remember. They picked up Rakeem Cato. He's their backup right now, who is a former Predator, was with the Mustangs recently, and those guys were recently released to the open market, have signed elsewhere. So just a finalization on that, by the way. But you have not only an excellent offensive performance from Danny Southwick, Darius Prince, and company. I mean, I was blown away at how smooth and silky some of these passes were from Danny Southwick. That line did an excellent job. But on the other side of this coin, my oh my, that Preds defense, after getting all the flack from us earlier in the year about these guys are veteran, talented, all NAL names, what's going on? Why are they getting burned so bad? Now they're showing up. This is like an all-star unit. Freddie Booth-Lloyd, holy crud, that first quarter was his quarter. He made mincemeat out of Arvell Nelson. Later on, you're seeing Caleb Walls have both offensive and defensive production this week. Definitely an excellent Ironman performance. Dwayne Hollis, you can say, similar deal. Josh Jenkins, this was one of the weird ones. We don't often see a onside kick return for a TD. But props to him, man. He was on top of the ball. Things were just going right for Orlando all night. And San Antonio just couldn't find ways to get out of their way fast enough. They did have some momentum in the late third, early fourth, but eventually that got sapped away. Turnover on downs led to a touchdown to where basically Orlando, after getting an onside kick return, turning the ball over and getting a nice Desmond Maxwell TD that you just saw on the screen, by the way, if you're watching our live stream, sapped it away. Overall, their best performance all season. And man, Jim, you aren't wrong with that lead in. That's a team I don't want to play right now. I mean, they severely beat down on what many have considered one of the top two teams in the league that just came off its most decisive victory of the season last week, and that we said, dang, there you go. All right, let's get back on track, and we can ignore any other conversation. They came in, they had home field advantage, and said, no, not today. This is us. We might have found the formula, and it's veteran Danny Southwick slinging it like a Ryan Fitzpatrick coming off the bench and playing in his later years. I mean, seriously, if you look at any Ryan Fitzpatrick stuff, it's kind of funny to me how we're taking that narrative and he's like living up to it right now. Just no beard. And here we are. Orlando definitely has the story of the weekend with this blowout win. And then I'll let you talk about Orlando, of course, but there's, of course, the other side of the coin that I think many people noticed in the second half that was a little different with San Antonio that raises some questions now. But I want to hear your thoughts on the Preds because, I mean, again, all phases just performed exceptionally well. I can't stress enough. It was one of the perfect performances in the NAL this season.
It's one of the perfect performances by the Predators, yes. It's something that we know the Predators can do. They have that talented roster that came from Albany earlier in the year. You knew eventually they were going to click. It's going to have to wait a second to get in the gel. They did. Then they went up against a San Antonio team. San Antonio got to a big hole, 29-0, and it's very hard to come back from 29 points on the road, especially with a quarterback that's not making mistakes. I made a comment, I think, either on one of our shows, I think it was with Steve last week, saying Orlando doesn't need a Sam Castronova, doesn't need a Rakeem Cato to win. They need a game manager that knows where to put the ball in the right place. And Danny Southwick, the Ryan Fitzpatrick of arena football, has done that. And he's put him in a position to win games. And, of course, San Antonio, a lot of people, they get mad at me when I made statements about, the comment a couple weeks ago when I said 4-4. But they are now, look at the record, they're 8-2. They started the season 6-0. In the last 4 games, they're 2-2. So I know my comment of 4-4 really got to San Antonio fans, but it is 500 football, and they've been playing 500 football the last 4 weeks. Yes, the opponents they have played have varied from the tough loss to the 2 close wins against West Texas from back-to-back weeks, and their 2 losses are one-sided affairs against Jacksonville and against Orlando. Now, I know San Antonio is in a great position. They're 8-2. They're currently still first in the NAL standings, but they do not control their destiny. The team in Jacksonville controls the destiny for the 1 seed. Jacksonville wins out. They're hosting the championship game as the home field goes to the 1 seed. But for Orlando, how this team, this franchise has been in the National Arena League. The Predators have not been the Predators from the previous renditions of it in the older leagues. This team has gone through some hard times in the NAL, and now they have won 3 in a row, longest winning streak in NAL franchise history for the Predators. They're in the mix. They win this week against Jacksonville. They clinched the final playoff spot. For San Antonio, you need Carolina to slip up. If Carolina loses, San Antonio clinches a home playoff game. That's pivotal because home playoff games, you're 12-2. It's a great record for a home team. Mm-hmm. But for this game, honestly, there's one player that there's a new nickname for the guy. We know him as the GOAT. But now the new nickname is Optimus Prime. I heard the announcer say that. And I wonder if that's just the Orlando guys trying to give him a nickname where the GOAT's been called the GOAT in Albany, has been called in Lehigh Valley and in Philadelphia. But Darius Prince is a different animal right now, the last couple of weeks, than he was earlier in the year. Because earlier there was a lot of distractions. But man, Orlando is that type of team that they're deadly. They're scary. And they're going up against a team next week that I possibly will be down there. I'm still thinking about it. That it's going to be an electric atmosphere against 2 teams that historically don't like each other from back in the AFL days. But one thing I loved about this game by Orlando, this is a team that we've been saying for the whole year that they have the talent to be like this, and they finally showed it. For San Antonio, the big switch that we saw in the second half, I didn't see that coming, but sometimes you need to make a switch to have a spark.
I did not see the
I didn't either.
QB switch either. I mean, in credit, like it was an ugly first half, but I mean, I didn't think we would go to Robert Kent right now, but that is the case. It is a storyline that I think is something that you do need to watch over. One thing we remember, I think, asking around about was that Kent seemed like he was coming in more as a coach rather than a backup, really, or as kind of like a mentor type to that in that case. And now that he's in, that opens the door basically, if you're Fred Shaw and company, to say, okay, we are realistically evaluating that QB position. I think now, maybe we could be reading into it. There are some that they just say, you know what, this is not going right. The vibe's not right. We'll switch out and we'll put in Robert. But it definitely felt like that was, of all things considered, it felt like it was like a real moment of we're pulling you and we are trying to spark something else. Just because I honestly didn't think Arvell had a too poor of a first half. I mean, there were some mistakes, but a lot of it came down to, I thought, great pressure put on by Orlando. Honestly, when I say Freddie Booth Lloyd dominated that first quarter and maybe like a sliver of the second, he was one of the dominating forces, if not one of the main factors as to how Orlando got out to a 22-0 lead to kick things off. He was harassing Arvell Nelson. You can't do much when you have one of the best defensive rushers in the league in your face at all times and causing havoc in the backfield. So I was kind of surprised, given the fact this isn't like what we saw a few weeks back prior, or the performance against Jacksonville that I thought we put in. It felt more like offensive line production and protection broke down and things just didn't go their way. Great fourth down stops as well to combine. Just felt like elements like that were at play. So I don't know. I'm kind of curious to see what space we're going to see Coach Shaw and company in moving forward, because I think right now what they're feeling is, hey, we're at 2 losses. Jacksonville's at 2 losses. We've split the season series so far. The home field advantage in the playoffs is now coming down to the wire. Like, we let one more game slip up, and we have at least a bye week this coming week to talk about this. And then we need to see where Jacksonville's at. And then we play Jacksonville later in the year. We got to get through Carolina, which is going to be a huge game. Because as we've talked, remember, they lost by 2 last time in their home building to the Cobras. That was with a completely different setup that they have now. That's not going to be an easy task. And we're going to have to see how they adjust with a bye week. Carolina at least gets to tune up with West Texas, but they get to go back home this time. Their Cobras fans are going to get to go back home and host that game. Those guys will know that that's a big game for them for playoff positioning purposes and for the fact that they're going to be rowdy because it's closer to the end of the year. I expect that to be an electric atmosphere, but the Gunslingers have some things to think about, I think, on that end of the ball. Defensively, I mean, I'll be honest with you, kind of hard for me to pinpoint things. I really do think it was just old school, excellent route running from Darius Prince a lot of the night, and really just pinpoint perfect passing from Danny Southwick. Some of those passes, I honestly was kind of hard for me to say, I don't know what you do there. You got a few plays there, like Caleb Walb's pass right there, that swing route. That's just good play design. You clear everybody out. Caleb just basically turns on the juice and goes for a TD, and it's that simple. So I think you keep staying the course. You got defensive talented guys. Offensively, though, you're going to have some questions. Like I said, the quarterback's going to be the big one. I think most people in San Antonio are going to sit there and go, what's happening? Because I think either one will have a case to start, but whoever you pick, you need to be damn sure it's the right guy, because, seeding is up for grabs right now. And
Correct.
Not saying that you can slip. I don't think that they'll slip to the 3 seed, but that's the extreme scenario where you lose a home playoff game if you don't get things in order.
Right now, out of the 4 teams that are currently in the playoff picture, the scariest team, in my opinion, is the Carolina Cobras. Why? They're starting to find themselves. They have a quarterback that he does have moments where he's okay, and some moments are like, holy crap, where did this come from? One of the things that I like about everyone's talking about, there's only 5 teams, how you're talking about playoff position. Now it's more of who gets the 1 and the 2 seed. That's the playoffs push that is going to be what's intriguing. And what a lot of San Antonio fans want to see is Jacksonville dropping 1. And Jacksonville has to go to Orlando, then they're home against Orlando, home against West Texas, then they're at Carolina. That slate right there is pretty daunting. But knowing my boys that I talk to every week, they're a team that I know that you can look at the standings and look at the point differential. They know how good they can be. And the team is, so they almost lost to Carolina a couple of weeks ago. Then we had the bye week, and they were like, "Oh, here we go again." It's like, um, this game is so much about momentum. It's crazy. But right now, Carolina, Orlando have it. West Texas doesn't. San Antonio doesn't. That's killer sometimes. And one thing about San Antonio is that you lost to Orlando and got outplayed. First half did not look good at all. Orlando looked like they can do anything on San Antonio, and now you got a bye week to sit on it. And then the next game is at Carolina. If Carolina goes to West Texas and pull up another performance like they did against West Texas a couple weeks ago when they played them at West Texas, like 89-59, and they're coming back to San Antonio or coming back to Carolina with San Antonio coming in town, that game will be crucial because if, let's say, hypothetically, San Antonio goes to Carolina and loses to Carolina, all of a sudden San Antonio goes from the number 1 spot to they can possibly drop to the 3rd seed. That's how crucial these games are going. Am I saying that San Antonio's going to lose the next couple of games? No. But that bye week right there after that tough loss, you have so much time to think about it. I know Coach Shaw is going to do the 24-hour rule or the 48-hour rule to try to get over it. But that last performance against Orlando, and then you're off the off week, really stunts a growth of a team to like get that negativeness away from you. Now, for instance, for Jacksonville, how they beat Carolina the bye week, and now we're going to Orlando against a hot Orlando team. That game's going to be crazy. That game's actually something that I'm looking forward to. I know there's a lot of people that say we favor the Sharks a lot, but sometimes when marquee games happen and the Sharks are in there, and we have to cover that game. Out of the 4 teams left, like I said, Carolina, in my opinion, is the one that you don't want to play, especially for me as a Sharks fan, because we've had history with Carolina. We lost a championship against Carolina. They knocked us out of the playoffs one year against Carolina, so we have history with Carolina. We have history with Orlando too, back in the day. One thing I look about when I look at teams, and one thing that really spots out about this Orlando team right now, they're finally finding the groove at the right time of the year.
They are.
And that's what's deadly. One of my buddies even mentioning this Orlando Predator team is reminding them of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Couldn't win games early. We're in a lot of close games. But at the end of the year, they are going to pull off 6-some straight wins, get into the playoffs, and make noise. That's what he says the Orlando Predators remind him of right now, is this past season Jacksonville Jaguars. And he's right. They have this talent, and they get a Cato in. Now you're going to have 2 experienced quarterbacks now in Orlando that have won. Southwick has been on some winning organizations in this time with his scroll of teams he's played for. Cato was with Fayetteville, who had a very good team, very solid team with explosive talent and players. He's a talented quarterback, and he's had history with Orlando. He played there last year. So Orlando's getting their pieces together. But some dude, there's a certain linebacker that plays in Orlando. That guy is on, like, insane right now. He's playing incredible right now. And he probably had his best game yet as a Predator since he played in the championship game against Carolina. His name is Nick Hag. The dude was insane. Guy was everywhere. I'm glad I don't play quarterback in this league because I'll be afraid of that dude if he was coming after me. But Orlando's that scary team that makes the playoffs. That's that 4 seed you don't want to play. And also, Carolina's also that team's like, all right, well, we're not the scary team. We have the most potential of stealing someone's home field in the first round. So these next couple of weeks are going to be very intriguing. Each game is going to be pivotal. Like even a simple win, Carolina win in West Texas, or Jacksonville win against Orlando, are like the wins are huge at this time of the year. And for Jacksonville, you beat Orlando, you get a chance to try to win the series in Jacksonville next in a couple of weeks. But for Orlando. They win down to Orlando. Owner Cheney gets himself another trophy with the skull, with the shark logo on it. And Orlando's back to 500 football. And that'd be the first time they've been 500 at this late in the season, I think, since 2021 when they made the playoffs as a 500 team. It's been a while.
Yeah, I mean, this is so far, they're on pace to have the most successful season since their return. And I know that record-wise, it's not pretty. It's been a rough go for them to kick things back off since they've returned in 2019. But nonetheless, like there's good momentum right now. We mentioned a ton about obviously you're talking about the veteran players they got from not players and coaches from the Albany kind of succession, if you will, or releases, whatever term you prefer. And now you have talents that at least I think you found your quarterback situation. You've solidified that twofold. Again, not just Danny, but I know folks that of course are talking their own thing, and of course mentioning that yes, Rakeem Cato. I mean, that is a guy that should be possibly starting somewhere, or if they need to go to him, not saying that they will, but if you have a backup that if you need to go to, he's ready to go and he is full, he is mobile and accurate. I like that Mike Quarta here, or minority owner of the Preds, coming on saying Orlando about to go on a run. And you know what? Like, we're talking, it's kind of, I mean, hey, looking like the hottest team right now in the league in terms of flipping things over. We'll see, of course. I think we're going to wait. We got another week, of course, coming up. Like you're talking with the Sharks. Now, I'll still hold that the Sharks are the hottest team in the league in terms of the fact that they're still on a win streak. They haven't lost since really relatively closer to the beginning of the season. They have been nonstop firing on all cylinders ever since Sam Castronova's come in and company have been added to support what's already been building up with Coach Gibson's squad. So all that is to simply put it that they are the hottest. But I think if you're Orlando, you're getting hot at the right moment. You're 4-5. You are distancing yourself to where you can at least, I don't say you're not focusing on the playoffs in particular, but you at least are distancing yourself to where you can say, all right, we're pretty much in. Let's keep getting and building upon what we're constructing right now, getting that Coach Ware system down and getting down what we've been doing well on defense. And then all it takes is one game once we hit the playoffs, and anything can be possible from there. All you need is one game in the NAL. You can hit the championship and then retool and hit that. So I think that's what they're looking at, and they got to be feeling in a good spot right now. I do find it fascinating talking about the end of season schedule with these teams because of the fact that Orlando does throw a monkey wrench into some of these plans with San Antonio taking this loss in the jungle last weekend. So it makes things way more interesting to end the year. It still could have been it still is possible more so, but just the fact that now you have two lost teams at the top that is only decided by a half a game right now is the reason why Gunslinger's at the top at the moment. After next week, we'll be definitely able to, I think, make even deeper evaluations to what we could be seeing down the final 3 weeks after this next one.
It's exciting. Football is here, as is always in our sport. The term that football ends in January is fake. But the next couple of weeks are going to be intriguing, especially for the games. Every single game has playoff implications for it. So make an announcement right now. Next week's game of the week for week 14 is indeed in Orlando, again, where the Jacksonville Sharks travel to the Orlando Predators in Amway Center. We will have Darius Prince on the show for Friday. We will have additional coverage of players. We will have David Gilbert and Justin Renfro on our Patreon for additional coverage for this game. But that would be more of something else that they've been asking to get on the show. So we got a Patreon now, so we get some additional coverage for that. But yeah, week 14 is on the way. We've been asking fans. We've had up to 30 people here tonight. If you have any fan questions, send them in now. We will be happy to answer them. If it's stuff that happened earlier this week, we're gladly will answer some of the questions. We will not answer outrageous questions if you have any. But send them away. We're free. We're going to be here for another 5-10 minutes. But overall, again, happy 4th of July, ladies and gentlemen. So thank you for joining us tonight. Why are you guys not watching fireworks? I don't understand.
Are you hearing fireworks right now in your neighborhood? But by the way, it's about 7 where I'm at out west. I'm surprised. It's not dark fully yet, but I know it's coming up within at least another hour or two. I'm going to be sitting here and going, huh, all right, this will be harder to sleep than usual because I don't have any fireworks. I am going to be chilling at my apartment and kind of vibing the rest of the night after this. But I know for a fact I might be able to step out on my back porch and go, oh, look, a free show.
Free. There's kind of I think they put a ban on certain fireworks in Jacksonville because we haven't had a lot of rain, but I think that could have changed. I'm right here. I'm looking out my window and I don't see anything. I don't even hear anything either. So maybe it's something that's. I think it could be state ordinance or city ordinance, or just I'm in a neighborhood where people just can't afford fireworks. Maybe. Because I didn't buy any. And I'm one of those douchebags who are out there and throw fireworks on the driveway, go, ha ha! And I'm the one ended up on TikTok. Also, we do have questions. At what point will we be here NAL announce an expansion? We're hearing rumbles. And no, I'm not talking about fireworks. Stay tuned.
Yeah, I can't really give anything concrete. The thing is with these deals, they take time. You got to get all the things right and in the straight and narrow, especially given, we'll be honest, the rough year that it's been in the NAL for some items. I think as we keep talking, and as the commissioner said, they want to make sure they get stuff right. So it's good news. It's these rumors we hear, they're pieces that I think you'll feel confident when it's fully announced, but like we can't say anything beyond that is all, but got to just get things in order. I think speculatively, I'm going to put out there speculatively. So don't even take any of this grain of salt. This is my uneducated thought on this. I would say knowing last year how they did it, you can expect like at least a team by the championship. I feel like that's what most of us are thinking. I think that they want to get the ball rolling because everything we talk about is like, the NAL wants to grow. Like it does want to get to where we can get a little bit more of a bigger platform. Mm-hmm. So I personally think, and again, this is all speculation for me. This isn't like I'm telling you concrete things. I'm thinking by come that first week of August championship game that we have, that you're going to at least by then have heard or hear something. That's what I'm believing I think would happen. Just given what we've understood in the last few years. That's my understanding. And
it happened last year with Fayetteville in West Texas.
Yeah, so I think there's that. Gary, I think this is a good one. Will Chris be on the show? Honestly, I think once these rumors get sorted out and we see what happens, maybe come like later after the season where we get a little bit more smoothed out, like what the grand, like I think overlook of the NAL will look like, because there will be expansion. Just, we know it every year it happens. So
it's part of the game.
So
expansion in this industry, if you're not talking about expansion, you're talking about failure. Mm-hmm. Because the other leagues, I guarantee, are doing the same thing right now. It's a part of the industry. You're going to have to do it to keep, growing.
Strengthen your core. Helps with business advertising, which I know the NAL has very much wanted to grow that sector of their game. Mm-hmm. And the more teams that you're able to land and more stable teams you're able to get in as well to strengthen your base, the more you can go and build partnerships and build out what your grand plan is. And again, this is about building up the arena game again. Like the NAL right now, there is there's another league. I'm not going to say it because I know I'm going to play nice. Just, if you're anyone out there listens, but there is the other one that's claiming it's coming back as arena. We haven't heard anything. Their deadline for last time for news has passed well beyond their deadline at this point.
76 days.
It was partially linked in that fake pieces of news we talked about at the beginning. So until I hear anything, the NAL is the de facto arena league in terms of like true arena football and growing that brand back. So they want to get out there and build it and get out there and show off to, I think, potential sponsors, investors that, hey, we have a stable base. We have teams around the country. And the best way to do it is they're going to have to grow and get stable partners. Some of the rumors that they're attached to, from what we get, are very stable groups, is all I can tell you. And it's nice to see. So we'll wait on that. But that's on their discretion to get it done. They got to get all the details right. You can't jump the gun on things like this. You got to make sure everyone on this on the same page, especially if we are trying to grow the game in the right way and move on from this year and the mistakes or lessons learned from this past season in some way, shape, or form through various different things that have happened over the course of this last league year.
Again, like we've stated before on this show multiple times, we do not report on rumors outside the league. When we hear stuff with inside the league and we're told we can, lean some way, we will give you the information. Be up to date with National Arena League news from the people you trust. Us here on Inside the Walls and other outlets, the 5 organizations, and I can show some love to the guys at Smoking Guns. They do a great job over there in San Antonio. Shout out Phil, RC, and Leo. You guys do a great job. Almost said Lilu. I don't know why. No offense to that. But they do a great job over there. Hit the bell, builds morale. Click the bell. Follow us on social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Should we do a TikTok? If not, we do a TikTok, it'd be just Jim making gaffes.
You know what? If you feel like we should, feel free to let us know, because it is there. I mean, we do have 3, but if you want some more, we'll figure out what we want to do with TikTok, I guess. It's a little odd because it's funny thing, and this is kind of what I'm hoping this works out this year. In doing this show, and since Jim and I have known each other, we still have not met up in person. It is.
You're coming to Jacksonville, boy.
I know. Well,
or San Antonio, or Carolina,
or San Antonio, or Carolina. That's the thing. Like, we still, doing 2 years of this show and knowing each other for even beyond that, have not met in person. And we have said over the last few years, we're going to meet up in an arena game. One of the next ones we'll do. If it's a championship, if it's a random game, we're going to do it. I'm hoping it happens this year. I'm crossing my fingers everything works out this year, that we can both be in attendance. Because last year we were able to get one of 2. And I was like, oh, we missed. This year I'm hoping the same, where it's like we at least are able to land at both of us now. And we can finally get to meet in person and have a good time at a championship together. So, that's coming up soon. Details will be coming up. And obviously that hinges on, timings and playoffs and all that, because everyone's got different venue times. So we'll see. We'll see. But I'm hoping it works out. I really do. I really hope so.
So, wrapping it up, any more questions? Any questions, suggestions, or observations you guys want us to talk about? If not, I know
closing time.
Duncan next week.
I'm taking that as the inside joke that it is. So
hashtag next week, yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with hashtag next week. But as a joke. I don't know if that's legitimately when it'll be.
I really don't know. I just know there's rumblings and I don't know when, so
yeah, just really all it is hold tight. Got to hash out things that are working out, and there you go. Also, what do you mean? If you're meaning the league's going to fold, no. Brandon Larson, that's not at all true. If you're referring to the incorrect reporting of Jacksonville and Orlando folding, that is also untrue. I don't know. There's nothing folding that either of us are aware of at this time, and that is a good thing. Very good thing. So, yeah, no, this is where we're at right now.
I hear my fax machine. I should go get my papers. I think those are the walking papers. Anyways,
Lordy.
But yeah, let's see. The joys of being the inside source of the National Arena League is that you know what's going on, even though certain things have leaked out about certain
Yeah.
people. We know we've known and we know the whole entire story. So keep putting the is the league folding? Keep doing that. We love the hatred. We really do. We really appreciate the hatred because there are players on this team. There are players in this league that this is their livelihood, and spreading these false rumors really damages their reputation and really damages the league. If it's a vendetta to the league, okay, it's a vendetta. Put a name behind it. Um, but anyways, one thing I want to say before we leave. The 5 organizations in the league right now will be here in August at the completion of the season. There will be teams playing with full rosters. I'm confident in that, and I have been given word behind the scenes that it is factual. No issues in the league. Again, when other websites are reporting stuff about this league, and you don't see me and Zach or Phil from Smoking Guns, or even some other trustworthy sites like Ducon Williams, ever in a football statement. If he's not saying nothing and we're not saying anything, or guys smoking guns are not saying anything, 100% sure the information is getting it's coming from 4 individuals. Those 4 individuals have been locked out of NAL arenas when NAL games are being played. So who really is the source? People that actually have good relationships with the league, or the ones that are just locked out and act like they can't say they can see it through the window or see it through YouTube and spread their BS on YouTube? Am I being defensive? I think that's what people think I am. No. There's a reason why I'm the Ian Rappaport of the National Arena League. It's because I got connections. My sources, they know Zach. They know me. They trust us. They know that they can give us information and we're not on social media the next day spewing about ESPN buying the league and airing all the games on and YouTube, which is completely, if you know anything about broadcasting, that's like Fox airing ESPN content. That's not going to happen.
No.
Or vice versa. That's like NBC airing CW content. It's not going to happen. I don't even think CW air. Well, they are kind of, but it's the small things that really, really people need to really understand the works. Like we got guys. We have the ref, literally a ref, and Patreon, and he's right. How easy everyone falls for the BS. Yes, it does. So when you want your most accurate information from the National Arena League, when they have another logo from another league's brand on there, it's not going to be the right source. If it's inside the walls, if it's smoking guns, is arena football statement, people who have been in the industry for more than 24 hours, who've actually done the work, we're the trusted source. So when you hear rumors and you see either myself or Zach in our personal accounts going after these people, you know there's some fishery about. And yes, I know there's stuff about people throwing like about a certain owner or this owner or that owner trying to destroy the person's name. I guarantee you they haven't dug all the way in. But then again, they only see the headline and think that's the story. It's not. But again, we have games this week. We'll be back on Friday for a game day with Darius Prince, the GOAT, aka Optimus Prime. There's more nicknames for the dude. The guy doesn't need any more nicknames.
No.
He's a GOAT. But yeah, overall, great action in week 13. The BS is just BS. I just love when they start it because I love when they fall down and block. Then they close their page down, then announce that they're retiring, then just relaunch as a different page and block us again. I love the circle of the consistency. But then again, I'm not a person that posts clowns on my webpage. I'm not the person that posts pictures of other people's articles and uses them as their own and puts some filter on it. We're the source of National Arena Legal News, not the other guys. Am I being very feisty there, Zach? I think I am.
Maybe
I don't
just a little,
care. I
just
don't
a
care.
smidge.
Don't use my stuff or the National Arena League stuff and claim it's yours. Again, I digress. But anyways, I'm done. I know I got listeners in Jacksonville. I know you got David Gilbert, Justin Renfro that listen. We had Mike Quarta, Tech East Firewater Restoration. He sponsors everything apparently everywhere in the league. So I guarantee Levesque popped in. I don't. He usually pops in a lot of our streams. But of course, the owners, referee, and we have a fan, arena football fan that always comes in. I think his Albany defense kid
Mm-hmm.
no longer have a team in Albany, but he's a passionate follower of ours. Appreciate
But
it.
yeah, kudos to the folks in Albany that still follow us on here.
Yes.
Even though, again, your team will be missed. It is great to still have folks that, are following along with the action right now. So, hey, you see in the Times Union hearing reports of rumblings too. So we'll see where that goes for you guys. But yeah, that's got to be coming up sooner rather than later. Catch that later this year. We don't know anything about that in terms of like NAL. All we know is that we're following what the Times Union has. So, Bob Belbert making decisions. That's all we know. We'll see who comes out on top there and what league it is. If it is an NAL team, hey, we'd welcome you back. We'd love to have Albany back in the community, man. Like just being honest. That would make my day if that headline came across on my Facebook feed, on my Google search feed. I'd be ecstatic. Just letting you know. So we'll see. We'll see. I'm hoping. You never know.
And there are current players in the league that will love to go back to Albany if
That
there's
too.
a team. So remember, those players love that city. They didn't leave because they wanted to. They were forced out, and they still have a place in their heart for that city. Albany has a great fan base, and I wish they'll get a team again. That'd be awesome to cover Albany again. But then again, this expansion season is always this time of year. It seems like every many years you've listened to our show or many other shows. This is a time of year when rumblings happen. But again, we have no idea. We know there's rumblings, but we have no certain confirmation on what it is, or who it is, or what team, or what organization, or even if it is expansion. I don't know. I just know that there's rumblings. I can't get confirmation, but the person who's been telling me this, I'm very confident in. He's not done me wrong yet, and all this. And trust me, it's one of the sources that the other people don't have. My source is really legit, and I could cross-reference it with 4 other people, and they also agree with it too. So, yeah. Again, I don't know when it happens. I don't know when it's going to. I just know there's rumblings in this time of year. Like you mentioned, it could be the championship game. So if it's a championship game, we still got to wait 6-7 weeks. But we do have a term in the NAL, and especially of some of the pages, hashtag next week. So hashtag next week and hashtag still here. And
Still here, baby.
We'll be here tomorrow. We'll be here Thursday. And we'll be here Friday for NAL Game Day to break down the game of the week, Jacksonville Sharks and Orlando Predators, and also the round 3 of Cobras and West Texas and Odessa, where Top Gunner gets his chance to flex his 4th of July muscles, where he was pretty active today on social media. So with that, hopefully I settled a lot of the disputes that need to be settled from this past weekend. And hopefully you guys, remember who the sources are. Appreciate all you guys. Mad respect with all you guys. I met with a couple of them earlier this year in Jacksonville. If I'm in Orlando Saturday, don't know yet. Schedules will be kind of weird. If I'm in Orlando, hopefully I get to meet some of the Orlando fans down there. And if I'm there, I'm on a mission to go talk to Bane. That's my goal. If I go down to Orlando,
there
I'm
you
going to go
go.
to Bane. That's my mission.
By the way, did you see his drip he had for that game?
Where does he get that?
I love the Jacks. The Jack buttoned up T-shirt.
Where? That's weird. I swear. Where did he get that? I swear.
I need to know who his supplier is. I need something like that in my life. I do. I'm serious. Yeah. I have you might have seen. You probably have. I don't know how many people on here also watch my USFL stuff. Like, I got that Panthers button up one that I got.
Yes.
And it kind of reminded me of that. I love stuff like that. I need to hit him up. I need to know, is that my size? Where do I get that? I want that.
Knowing Bane, he has a connection with somebody. I guarantee it. Just saying. But again, if you're in Orlando and if I'm down there, watch our Twitter account. I'll be there. Hopefully I get to meet some of the guys, especially for the Orlando side of things. And of course, that bus trip. If you're a Jacksonville Shark fan, listen right now. I think the bus tickets are still available. I think they're doing the third bus right now to Amway Arena,
That'd be
or
wild.
Amway Center. So can't beat it. It comes with a ticket, and you don't have to drive. You just got to sit in the bus. So that'll be something that'll be pretty entertaining if you have a chance to do that. So yeah, that's the game of the week. Orlando or Jacksonville at Orlando. We will have Darius Prince on because we were supposed to have him last week. Schedules, and this week he'll be available. We'll have the GOAT Darius Prince on Friday, and of course, any breaking news that happens in the National Arena League, we will be the first to let you guys know. And we might do an emergency live stream or show for it if any type of news happens, because we're in that time of season. It's same like last year when Fayetteville was announced. I want to say Fayetteville was announced almost 3 weeks before the playoffs even started last year. And then West Texas was announced at the championship game. So we're entering the season again. A lot of buzz around the air. No, the NAL is not folding. So if you're an NAL fan, hashtag still here. It's going to be trending for us. A lot of our statements here. And it's just, yeah, if it's just firing shots at the other networks, they know, hey, go ahead. I don't care. I'm firing shots because we're tired of being the ones defensive. We're going to be on the offensive now. So, yeah. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, it's been an hour and 30 minutes or close to an hour, 30 minutes of July 4th. Happy 4th of July to everybody, to the people that interacted with us in the chat. Really appreciate it. Of course, Gary Voigt, Defense Kid, Brandon Larson. Who else did we were here? Duncan.
I would say Duncan's on, or Ducon's on here.
Yeah, the friend. What was it? Voy? Is that your? It seems like a colleague from your other podcast.
Oh yeah, no, that's V /OZ. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's on our on the Pro Football Newsroom Discord, and he follows the USFL podcast. So it's good to see him jump on. He's jumped on for stuff before. Got Chris Vias, who we have seen just started up the official Cobras show, so I want to give him a shout out. You know,
pretty good content right there too.
Yeah, good to see more NAL centric shows out there. And we always recommended, you know, that teams, if they can, do not just a show but a coach's show, because he has James Fuller on consistently. His last show had Malik Henry, if I believe right, as well. So good stuff. I love hearing content like that. Keep building that up. Helps build your base.
Also, shout out to our Patreon. We have Bob, Gary Voigt. Who else we got? Not Gary Voigt. Sorry, that's an actor.
You mean Gary Vaught?
Gary Vaught. There you go. Also, Philip Higginbottom from the Smoking Guns podcast. Again, our Patreon is easy to find. It's Patreon/Inside the Walls Plus. You'll have additional coverage of David Gilbert and Justin Renfro. Going to get them on the show, or I'll be talking to them and get them on the show. And we're going to be talking about, it's maybe going to be more of a shark-centric type of show. David has something that he wants to present to the show and to the fans. So that's on Patreon. It will be released on YouTube as well, but it's going to be strictly on Patreon to start, and then it'll be on YouTube too. So that's extra content coming this week for Inside the Walls podcast, plus and Walls Pod Plus. And also, again, Darius Prince on Friday show. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, Zach, lead us to the dark side. Really? No. Lead us to the closing. Yeah. Yes.
I think that about bids farewell. Ladies and gentlemen, enjoy your 4th of July. Whether it is they get fireworks going on now, whether they're kicking off in just a little bit. Enjoy the last of your barbecue and celebrating a little bit of Independence Day, friends, family, or whatever way you like to do it. Without further ado, I'm Zach. He's Jim. Remember one final thing as we lead into saying that, hey, we're still here and we're going to be going even better than ever moving into next year. Remember, one thing.
Don't be a jack out of the box.
Catch you later this week. Darius Prince, episode 117, NAL Game Day Week 14. Going to be a blast. Going to have plenty of more exciting football as we have the playoff push coming even sooner just down the stretch. Only 4 weeks of football left. That's all we got. 4 weeks. Buckle up, baby. See you next time.
Yeah. Let's go. I got a vision I see in my head, a melody buried deep into my soul. They call us crazy, we cutting the edge, unlocking the future and letting it go. This is a calling that's higher, the time we decided our stories are gonna be told. This is what legends are born, we paving the road, a future that favors the bold. Break the rules, break the laws, this is the moment we change it all. Break the rules, break the laws, this is the moment we change it all. Yeah, greatness, yeah, it feels like greatness. Woo! Greatness, yeah, it feels like greatness. Legendary in the making. Reach out and we take it. About to emerge, we on the verge, and it feels like greatness. Something coming, I can feel.
Covering all your favorite parts of the 50-yard fight. This is the Inside the Walls podcast with Zach Kyleman and Jim